first time brewers, here's a little bit of equipment that we're going to need. We're obviously going to need a fermenter. A fermenter is obviously fitted with a tap and a stick-on thermometer. It has a lid with an airlock and a grommet in it. The airlock we fit through the grommet, through the lid, with some water in, and that actually stops any bugs getting in, but it also allows the carbon dioxide, when fermentation starts, also allows the carbon dioxide to escape. Now we've also got a brew, which is you have a can of the pre-hopped wort, malt extract, and the brewing sugars. Now we always use malt extract and dextrose. We do not use normal white sugar when we're brewing. We also have a capper, which is obviously used to put the crown seals on your bottles after you've filled them. We also have a jet bottle sanitizer, what we call a jet bottle sanitizer. Now this is a very, very simple piece of equipment that makes life so much easier than mucking around in the laundry trough with 30-40 litres of water, a cup full of sanitizer, and mucking around for half an hour. All you need is 1 teaspoon of sanitizer, fill it up with cold water, put your bottle on there, give it a couple of squirts, the sanitizer shoots up inside the bottle, let it drain out, and then you can pop it onto your bottle tree, which is also available at your friendly homebrew shop. Now obviously once you've put your stuff in the fermenter and it's fermented for 3 or 4 days, we always use a hydrometer to tell us when the beer is ready to bottle. We do not go by days. What you have to think of in winter, you need to keep the fermenter warm. Now most brews, if you think of a 23 litre brew, which is most of the time, most of your brews will be 23 litres, try and keep your fermenter around about 23 degrees. Now one of the simplest ways to do that is with what's called a heat belt. Now they're not thermostatically controlled, but they give a small amount of heat, and pop it around the bottom of your fermenter and plug it in when you need it, turn it off when you don't need it. And normally what I do is about an hour before I go to bed, I'll check the temperature. If it is a bit too low, I'll put the heat belt on for about an hour, and then you could even wrap a blanket around the fermenter just to keep that warmth in overnight. Doing a basic brew for the first time, if you've never done it before, one of the best tips I can give you is first of all to start your yeast off, called rehydrating the yeast. Now to do that is very simple. We need a container with some water in it, and we need to get that water to 25 degrees. Now obviously a thermometer is very handy. You have to be very careful with the water that's coming out of the tap, because in the middle of winter it can be 17 degrees, and in summer it can get up to 22-23 degrees. I've just taken this water out of the tap and it is still at 19 degrees now. So I will add a little bit of hot water just to get the temperature up to around about the 25 degree mark. Now that is running now right on 25 degrees. Now to do the yeast starter, what we do is we add a bit less than 1 teaspoon of normal sugar. White sugar or dark sugar is fine. You can use dextrose, that is okay. Remove the thermometer so that you don't break it, stir the sugar in, and then what we do is we take the yeast out from under the lid of the can, we snip the corner, and we pour the yeast into the container and stir vigorously. We need a lot of oxygen at this stage, so stir it in and stir it in and give it a really, really good stir. Now this needs to be done round about 30 to 40, 45 minutes before you are going to pitch the yeast. What this does is it gets the yeast started, and as soon as you pitch it into the fermenter, it will start to work. Now obviously one of the most important things when brewing is sanitizing. Now I've just cleaned this fermenter with some warm water and a soft sponge. Never use a scouring pad in your fermenter because you don't want to scratch the inside. So we wash it with warm water and a soft sponge. We then only need 1 teaspoon of sanitizer in there, and we then put round about 1 litre of cold water. Now all this needs is to put the lid on, give it a really good shake, get the sanitizer all over the fermenter, obviously run a little bit through the tap to make sure that the tap inside has been sanitized also. Turn that off, then all we have to do is take the lid off and then we pour it down the drain in the sink and just let it drain for about 5 minutes, and then you can put your brew right into it. Now basically to do the brew is very, very simple. We take round about a litre of boiling water, and we only need enough boiling water to dissolve the brewing sugars and the malt extract, which has already been pre-hopped. So we put a litre of water in there, we put the brewing sugars in, that's malt extract and dextrose. We then give that a good stir to dissolve, make sure that's all okay. Okay, then we take our can of hopped malt extract and we pour it in. Now I've retained a little bit of boiling water in the kettle so that I can rinse out all the residue in the bottom of the can. There's normally a bit of residue in there, and sometimes the hops, if they're put in as pellets, can sit on the bottom. So we get most of that in there, give it a bit of a scrape out of there, and then we just stop for a second, we pop some boiling water into the can. That to dissolve it all, pop the paddle into the can, stir it around, get all the goodies out of there, all nicely done, pop that into there, that's finished. Now once we've stirred that in, what we need to do now is we need to get that, fill it up to 23 litres. When we get to 23 litres, we need to be at 23 degrees. So that is a 23 litre mark on these fermenters. So when we get to about here, and with cold water, we must check the temperature on the stick-on thermometer. Now if it is too low, we can add some hot water, and if it is too high, we can then add some cold water, and it is always a good thing to keep a 2 litre PET bottle of water in the fridge nice and cold. If you get to 23 litres and you start putting ice in, it will take hours to cool down. If you put cold water from the fridge, it will bring it down very, very quickly. Another good thing to remember is that when you're putting the water into the fermenter, if you can really make it froth up, it will put a lot of oxygen into the wort, and this will also make your yeast work a lot better. Now put some cold water in here, and if we check the temperature, it's now on 24 degrees. So I can carry on and put some more cold water into the fermenter, and I will stop just short of the 23 litre mark. Just do another quick check on the thing, and it's now 24 degrees, dropping down to 23, so that's fine. So now we can top it up to the 23 litre mark. Quick check again, 22 degrees, between 22 and 24, absolutely perfect. Now, one thing that a lot of instructions tell you is to sprinkle the yeast on top. Now if you do that, could take 2 days to get through the froth and then to start working. We've actually rehydrated our yeast, so we can give it another quick stir. We can then pour the yeast in and stir the yeast in. Just as easy as that. Now that yeast will be going immediately. It will start working on the sugars, and it will start soon turning the sugars into alcohol and into the beer that we want when we're finished. Now we screw the lid on, get the lid nice and tight. Now when it grabs, just give it a final twist. You don't have to wrench it on. Press your finger down in the middle and you will see the water in the airlock will move as you're putting pressure onto it. That means that there is a seal there. Your beer is ready to go. Now keep it at 23 degrees, and after about 4 or 5 days you will need to do your hydrometer reading, and that will then tell you if your beer is ready to be bottled.